Okay, 101 class. Um, all right, well, that was spring break. I don't know what that was like for anybody. Um, it's crazy out there, I realize. I decided to kind of just sort of do. I just didn't put any videos up during spring break. I said you could still reach me, and I was still accepting papers and responding to emails, but I didn't put any videos up. And now spring break is over, so I'm putting some videos up. Um, I just want to kind of do a recap, like I'm going to try to do at the top of these videos, just to remind you. If you need a grade for this semester, or if you need to pass the class by the end of the semester, um, I'm going to need 4 papers from you. The first paper you've already done. It was the in-class essay that we did together. Paper number 2, that assignment is up on the blog. You can go find it if you read the 101 blog on this blog by scrolling down. If you're having any trouble finding it, you email me and I'll let you know what's going on. Um, the what was I going to say next? Something. Oh, paper 3, which I gave you guys, is a kind of research paper. It's again probably on the Phaedrus, although if you want to email me for other options, you can get some. But paper 3 is just like paper 1 and 2, but you're going to pick your own thing in the Phaedrus to discuss, and also you'll be doing a little bit of research to kind of find some other, you're going to be quoting people you found yourselves on the internet. And there's a whole section in the syllabus to talk about how to do that, both how to do the bibliography at the end, and also what kinds of things are worth being quoted in a 101 essay. So those are 3 things. One of them you've probably already got to me, but you could certainly send me paper 2 and 3 whenever you like. If you can get it to me by May 14th, I'm going to try to have all that graded, and that's that. So those are the papers. There is a 4th paper, a 4th and final paper. The 4th and final paper is going to be something you're going to open up on Blackboard. I'll have some instructions about that later, but the 4th and final paper is something you're going to open up on Blackboard. The 4th and final paper is something, it's about 2 essays, one by David Foster Wallace, another one by a guy named Michael Pollan. And so what I'd like to do now at this point in the semester is to start looking at those readings. Paper 1, 2, and 3 are all about Phaedrus, and we've finished it. We've finished Phaedrus. We are done. And so I think we're pretty wrapped there. So what I like to do in the next block of videos, today and the next video, the video after that, I'm gonna be covering pretty closely the material in David Foster Wallace and Michael Pollan, so that you'll be all prepared for paper 4. Okay, a couple other things to go over. Don't forget, keep an eye out on some way to make your classes pass, fail, or credit, no credits, the same thing. I think that's going to make life easier for everybody if you just declare your classes credit, no credit. So the issue is, did you pass or did you not pass? If you can get me these assignments, you're almost certainly going to pass, unless you plagiarize the assignments or totally misunderstand them. But if you're capable of following this and writing about it, you're going to pass. So you just have to get me the assignments. That's the tricky part. Sorry, that's hot, so I have to drink it. I can't swig it fast. Hot honey lemon water because I'm outside and it's cold. Okay, so you have your papers to get to me, and get them to me when you can. Obviously, I'm trying to help. And if you need help, email me, and I can talk to you about situations that you're concerned about. Declare your classes credit, no credit. I think that's going to be helpful for everybody. That way, whatever grade you get won't affect your GPA, but will allow you to pass the class and move on to the next class, which will be fun. I also have, I'm going to go over David Foster Wallace and Michael Pollan next, and that's it, 4 papers total. So let's start thinking about paper 4. By the way, just because I'm doing this doesn't mean I might go back and talk about other things later. I don't know how this is going to work, but what I'm trying to do, I'm zipping ahead a little bit because I want to make sure I get this done. I don't want to get in a situation where it's the end of the semester and I forgot to teach you the David Foster Wallace and the Michael Pollan. But it's possible that after spending some time with David Foster Wallace and Michael Pollan, I'm going to be like, okay, we're done. In which case, I'm just going to get something else to teach for whatever fucking reason, and that'll be a little weird because it's sort of the end of the semester. But if I have extra space, I'm going to keep going with something. I don't even know what. Okay, so you know to email me if you need me, you know to read the blog, you need to find the assignments, and there are 4 assignments total, and try to get them to me by May 14th. Also, if you're having trouble, I can always give you an incomplete this semester, and you can deal with it next semester. Anyway, okay, let's do this. Let's start with I'm going to start with David Foster Wallace first. So this is the handout you should have a copy of. Now, I gave this to you guys. I think I also emailed it to you, but if you need it for some reason, you email me, and I will email this to you. Okay, so The first time I'm teaching you something other than Play-Doh. Crazy. I cannot believe we actually did all of Play-Doh. And by the way, thank you. It's because of you guys and the work that you did on that. I will be teaching that every semester for the rest of my life. Well, for years to come anyway. It was an experiment that I tested out on you guys, and I think it worked pretty well, and I'm pretty happy with the results. So I appreciate you guys going through all the features with me. It's a fascinating thing. I hope you found it at least interesting. It's very strange to study something that's so old and so famous. I really love it so much. Okay, David Foster Wallace. I'm going to tell you a little bit about David Foster Wallace's life before we get started. David Foster Wallace is a complicated guy. So David Foster Wallace was an American novelist. He was very big in the 90s. He was a journalist for a while. He used to write these magazine stories. And this essay that you're going to look at, which is called Consider the Lobster, is one of those stories. David Foster Wallace is really most famous for, he wrote some books, but he's most famous for this one book that he wrote. The book is called Infinite Jest, which is a quote from Hamlet, Shakespeare, my favorite author. The book is called Infinite Jest. Infinite Jest is a novel that if I showed it to you, would probably make you throw up. It is like 1,500 pages long. It's like this. It's this big. It's like the Bible. It's gargantuan. It is such a big book. It is a gigantic book. It's one of the biggest books ever written. It's one of the longest single books ever written. If you've ever read Stephen King's The Stand, it's bigger than that. If you've ever read Stephen King's It, bigger than that. If you've seen one of those big Game of Thrones books, bigger than that. It's a huge book. I audiobooked it. It took me 65 hours. 65 hours. It's almost the size of the Bible. It is an absolutely gargantuan book. It's huge. It's a novel. It's a novel. But weirdly, it has footnotes. Novels aren't supposed to have footnotes, but this has footnotes. And then to make things extra confusing, the footnotes have footnotes. So you can be reading the novel and hit a footnote, and then you can go read the footnote, which might be many pages long, and then somewhere in there's another footnote, and you got to go find the footnotes to the footnotes. It's crazy. The novel is about three things. It's about a bunch of kids, rich kids, who are learning to play tennis at a fancy rich kid tennis camp. On top of a hill in like Boston or something. At the bottom of the hill, though, is a hospital for alcoholics, a rehab center for alcoholics and drug addicts. And there is a third location in the novel. There's three locations in the novel total. I've just told you about two of them. There's a third location in the novel, which is these sort of CIA kind of FBI types who are investigating a dangerous videotape, like a movie. It's a videotape, it's a movie that is so beautiful that if you see it, you'll fall into a coma, and it can kill you. So what the novel does is it gives you a scene of the kids playing tennis, and then it gives you a scene of the people in rehab, and then it gives you a scene of the people talking about this videotape. And that's all it does. The scenes with the kids is like length. The book's gigantic. It's just like people talking about the rules of tennis for hours, and like all these wacky adventures the kids go on for hours and hours and hours and hours. And at the drug clinic, people in addiction programs will talk about the terrible things in their lives. They will talk about the things for pages and pages and pages and pages and pages. It's a huge book. And when most people read it, I think it's a little confusing, because it's like, why is this so, like, why is this the story? It's like kids at a tennis camp and then drug addicts and then this videotape that if you look at it, it makes you fall into a coma because it's so beautiful. Like, what does that have to do with anything? And people don't see the connection. It's hard to see. And why is it called Infinite Jest? Jest is joke, but also pleasure. A jest is something funny. The novel is about pleasure. What links these three areas is that the kids are doing something that should be fun, playing a game. But because they're doing it on the professional level, they've pushed fun so far, it's like work. Like professional athletes, like playing basketball is fun, but if you're like a professional athlete, you're training all the time and every day, it can stop being fun after a while, especially if you're a kid learning to do something. Alcohol and drugs, theoretically fun. But if you push it too far, it starts not being fun anymore, just like the kids at the tennis camp. And that videotape, movie is supposed to be fun, but what if a movie is so beautiful it actually puts you into a coma and kills you? It's a novel about the dangers of pleasure. and how, again, this is Socrates' bad horse. It's things that are enjoyable that distract you from those higher heavenly things. All right, pick it up in the next video.